For the week of July 7th, continued challenges in obtaining permanent residence in Canada, new settlement requirements, and a special discussion with Lauren Cohen, a business advisor and lawyer, on strategies to immigrate to Canada as a business entrepreneur on this edition of ImmPulse.
Well, today, Noman, let's talk about some things which go to the success of an application. So where would you like to start?
Well, one of the challenges in every edition of ImmPulse, when we look at the permanent residence requirement, it's a very high standard for CRS points.
Right.
And our clients are calling regularly from
Right.
outside of the country,
Right.
even students who are here saying, how do I qualify because I can't get enough points to immigrate to Canada? And there are a lot of talented people out there.
So what's the first solution that comes to mind?
Well, when we step back with clients, we look at all the available opportunities, and there are a lot of talented business people in Canada and people abroad who have run businesses really well, and they're interested in understanding what are the opportunities to immigrate as a business entrepreneur.
Or temporarily under the self-employed category to get a business going.
Correct.
In both situations, you're going to have to demonstrate capability.
Capability, and one of the first points of discussion is what type of business should the individual consider putting their energies into.
So Lauren Cohen's with us today. She
Hi.
has over 20 years of experience in developing business plans for individuals making business decisions in North America, into Canada, and into the United States. So she's learned a lot over the years, and she's going to share with our audience today, probably starting with the three predictive indicators of a successful business move to a country.
I think that the successful business move is dependent on these three indicators, no matter what you're doing, even in your home country. And the first is passion, because you're not going to be successful at something if you're not passionate about it. And so you have to do something that relates to your passion. The second is capitalization, because if you're undercapitalized, your business is doomed to fail unless you find some lottery or some sugar daddy or something like that. And the third is support, the team, not just the team within your organization that you hire, but the team that helps you build the business and strategize to create the right business model, business strategy, and business flow.
And each of those points are important. Interesting that you bring up passion, because under our Canadian immigration rules for startup visa, passion would equate to your initial drive must be to set up the business. Your intention must be to set up the business, not simply to get a visa.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be passionate about your business.
Mm-hmm.
You have to see it in the business proposal. You have to see it in the idea. And the officer assessing the application has to feel it, that that's the reason why you're coming to Canada.
Yeah, you've got to have a piece of yourself in it.
And concerning your third point, one of the deficiencies which we commonly see when we talk to prospective applicants is they don't have accounting support, they don't have IP support, legal support, they don't have banking support. They are basically going at this alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Agreed.
Lauren, I'm curious to know, when you're counseling a potential client, you're listening to their desire and aptitude, what types of industries in North America do you feel are hot or where there's a good ROI with the right strategy investment these days?
Always and forever is healthcare, because no matter what side of the border you're on, there is a need for good, strong healthcare businesses. And anything during COVID, one of the things that we were talking about a lot was the three core business areas that are generally not impacted by a recession or by something like COVID: pets, elderly, and kids, because people are always going to look after their pets, their elderly parents, their aging parents, and their children. So businesses that, let's say daycare businesses, which provide support to the whole economy, the local economy, help people to be able to go to work so the kids can go to daycare, that's a perfect example of a North American-wide needed business. And of course, then there's tech and there's other kinds of businesses as well. But I tend to like those three core businesses, and obviously the healthcare kind of pervades all of them.
Right. And so, Howard, that lines up really well with Canada's priorities.
Right.
We know that healthcare is got special streams.
Right.
Provincial governments are very open. There'll be regional, municipal streams. And I would think with both parents working, increasingly getting really good childcare is a challenge in many of these regions.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's a challenge like anywhere, because when my child was young, for example, if they called me and said, oh, he has a fever, or he has a cold or something like that, all of a sudden my business day was ended. So I think it's all about creating those strategies and making sure that people have passion about them so that they can be successful, and that's going to reflect in their application as well. But don't come and do something just to get a visa or just to get status in the country, because you're doomed to fail.
Well, and on that point, when you're making an application provincially, what they're looking for is what is the social, cultural, economic benefit of your idea, right? And you
100%.
articulated it disrupts business. In some of these regions, they don't have the infrastructure. So it makes sense that you think through your business strategy that way.
Lauren, I know you've mentioned to Naman and I about quizzes that you've developed
Yes.
in order to help people understand their own capabilities and prospects for success. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think that I created quizzes to put people into different, so to speak, buckets, so that I would know how to best counsel them, because not everybody fits in the same bucket. And part of that, it depends on your budget, depends on your experience, depends on your goals. Do you want long-term status? Do you want short-term status? Are you just looking to make a buck? If you're just looking to make a buck, we're probably not going to help you, because that's not going to get you to the status that you need in Canada or the US, for example. So I think it's really important that there is a vetting process to just bring the client in so that you know how to guide them through that next stage in the process.
Can you give us an example or two of projects that you've worked on with your support teams, and to understand better of how people have gone through your process?
There's often times that clients come in with less active businesses. And of course, on both sides of the border, you have to have an active business to qualify for these startup or investor or entrepreneur visas. So what we would do is take an otherwise passive investor. Let's say that they're setting up a fund or funds to invest in various different tech companies or healthcare companies or something like that. So instead of it being passive, that they're just an investor, we would then create this active role for them, or help them create an active role in the business that they're developing, and how kind of more like a Pretty Woman type of Richard Gere, who goes in and actually changes the, dates me, right? Changes the whole dynamic of the business, because he's, and maybe in his case, he was taking them apart, but we would come in and take them apart and put them back together, and now create a strategy for that business to succeed where it may have been failing. So it's really about taking the business owner or the prospective business owner where they are and figuring out how to get them from A to Z without hitting a lot of roadblocks in the process, so that they can not only get status, but also be successful, because they're bringing their family maybe, or they're, you don't want them to have to go packing at the end of the day because they didn't follow through.
And what will be our process, Naman? I mean, we have a similar goal than Lauren, but we kind of attach ourselves to business experience.
Right. Well, we look at business experience, and each one of these provincial programs has a different focus in terms of what businesses are eligible, not eligible. It has a regional sort of spin to it. And then there's a different investment amount. There are different rules in terms of when the money needs to be invested. Typically, you get a work permit first, and you have to continue to be active. In some of the programs, you have to create 1 or 2 or more jobs. So it's really about figuring out the right solution, the right business model for a person, to your point, that has the experience, number one, has the capital where they're realistic, and where they're committed, and more importantly, where they're going to be happy.
Yeah.
They're moving their life and their kids and their family. So they have to really like the area. We always suggest they do an exploratory visit, get to know the customers, the environment, and then make the decision after you're informed.
I think we're all saying the same thing. Lauren has her quizzes and her way of doing her North American transfers.
Right.
And we look at it from the startup visa perspective here, that we know officers are looking at experience and capability of undertaking the business. But at the end of the day, those are the ingredients to a successful business.
Correct. Right.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you for having me.
And Naman, do we have any other part? Do you want to say anything more about today's ImmPulse edition?
I think there's a number of interesting federal court cases that are worth reading, many of them on different parts of the program. What's interesting is I think 8 out of 10 cases were all granted approval from the judge presiding. So it's a good landscape to read what the ingredients are for success. Other than that, just stay tuned. There's a lot of discussion. We're halfway through the year now for permanent residents, PNP numbers. Will be interesting to see how the second half of the year shapes out. And I think programs like entrepreneur, startup visa, that may be the only pathway as we see some of the cap gets used up in the other programs.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning into this edition of ImmPulse. If you're a foreign entrepreneur interested in buying a business and understanding your immigration pathway, please feel free to reach out to Greenberg Hameed.
Hi, I'm Howard Greenberg.
Hi, I'm Noman Hameed.
What?
Don't look at me.
Yeah, look at the camera. That's the round thing.
Is that it, guys? Okay, let's really do this for real now.
That was a good run through.
Yeah.